The wind screamed like a beast across the icy fields of Kyloranine. Snow whipped through the air, sharp as glass, covering everything in white silence. Inside a shattered escape pod, barely holding together, sat a young alien girl named Sayla. She was wrapped in a torn thermal blanket, her back against the cold metal wall. Her arms clutched something small and fragile, a creature with soft fur and wide, frightened eyes. Her pet, her friend, the only life she had left. The heater in the pod had started to die hours ago. Its red lights flickered. Its quiet hum was now silent. The air inside had turned as cold as the storm outside. Sayla's fingers were numb, her lips were blue. But she didn't cry. She just held her pet tighter, whispering softly, "It's okay. I'll stay with you. I won't let you go." She remembered the crash, the screams, the fire. She remembered her mother's voice telling her to run, and then silence. That same silence that now filled the pod. Her pet let out a weak sound, curling closer to her chest. She rubbed its tiny head, trying to give it warmth she didn't have. Sae. La looked up at the cracked window above. All she could see was snow, endless snow. She wasn't afraid of dying. Not really. But the thought of dying alone, without hearing another voice, without feeling a kind hand, that fear hurt more than the cold. She closed her eyes. Her breath slowed. Her body grew still. Then it came, a deep metallic sound. A bang. Another. Roof of the pod groaned. Sayla's eyes opened slowly. She thought she was dreaming. The pod door ripped open with a loud screech. Snow rushed in like a wave, and with it, a figure tall, armored, covered in thick layers of gear, a helmet covered, his face, steam rising from the front. He stepped inside. His boots crunched on broken glass and metal. He looked around. Then his eyes found her. For a long moment, he said nothing, just stared. Then he moved fast. He pulled off one glove and reached toward her. Sayla tried to move back, but her strength was gone. She felt his arms wrap around her, felt the heat of his body through the gear, felt her pet still pressed against her chest. His voice was low, rough, but strangely gentle. "I've got you." That was all he said. He took a thick blanket from his pack and wrapped her and the creature inside it. She couldn't speak. Her throat was dry. Her vision blurred, but in that moment, something inside her broke. Not from fear, but from relief. She wasn't alone anymore. He carried her out of the pod into the storm. The cold tried to bite her again, but she was already slipping into sleep. She looked up one last time. The sky above was full of white clouds and falling snow. Then everything went dark. She didn't know if this was rescue, or the start of something worse. But for the first time, in days, she felt safe. Sayla blacked out in the warmth of the human's arms, not knowing if she had just been saved, or captured. When Sayla opened her eyes, she expected darkness. But instead, there was light. A soft, warm glow flickered from the corner of the room. She was lying on a rough but warm bed, made of blankets and metal sheets. Above her, the ceiling looked like a human-built structure, not part of her ship, not alien. This was something else. Her pet was sleeping beside her, its small chest rising and falling gently, alive, safe. She sat up slowly, her body still aching. From the cold, the air here was warmer, much warmer. Then she heard footsteps. The man stepped into view. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a rough beard and tired eyes. His clothes were patched and worn, but clean. He carried a metal bowl filled with steaming liquid. He placed it down on a nearby crate and spoke without looking directly at her. "You're lucky I found you when I did. Another hour, and you'd be frozen stiff." His voice was deep, rough like gravel, but it didn't sound angry. It sounded tired. "Tom." Sayla looked at him closely. He was human, no doubt. She had heard stories about humans before. Unpredictable, dangerous, a species that acted on emotion, not logic. But this one had saved her. Not just her, but her pet too. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. He handed her the bowl. Drink. It's hot. Helps with the cold. She took it with shaking hands. The warmth felt like magic. She sipped slowly. It didn't taste good, but it felt like life. He sat down across from her, finally meeting her eyes. I'm Jace, he said. Engineer. Crew of the Starlight Ember. We crashed months ago. Sayla blinked. That name sounded familiar. Her ship had picked up fragments of a distress signal not long before the crash. She lowered the bowl. Where is your crew? Jace paused. His eyes darkened. Gone. One word. Heavy. Final. Sayla felt a chill. Not from the cold this time, he continued, his voice softer now. I built this shelter from what was left. Just me. Haven't seen another soul until I found you. She nodded slowly. Silence filled the room for a moment. But it wasn't an empty silence. It was heavy. Real. Then her pet stirred and let out a small sound. Jace glanced at it. I gave it some food earlier. Wouldn't eat unless you were nearby. Sayla smiled faintly for the first time. He's shy, but he's brave. Jace smiled. Too. Just a little, I figured. Takes guts to survive a crash like that. You two. She looked at him. A long moment passed between them. A kind of understanding. Two survivors. Different worlds, but the same pain. He stood up and pointed to the far wall. There's a heater unit. Doesn't run forever, so we keep it low during sleep. There's food and water here. Shelter's secure, but listen close. The outside isn't safe, not just the cold. Sayla's eyes narrowed. What else is out there? Jace turned toward the door. His hand rested on a metal rifle hanging by a hook. There are things in the ice. They move at night. I don't know what they are, but they watch. They wait. A cold shiver ran down Sayla's spine. She swallowed hard. Why haven't they attacked you? Jace's voice dropped. They have. He turned back, lifted his sleeve. A long, jagged scar ran down his forearm. I survived. Barely. You won't if you go out there alone. Sayla looked at the rifle, then back at him. So I'm trapped here. Jace shrugged. Alive, not trapped. You want to leave. I won't stop you. But if you stay, follow the rules. Stay warm. Stay alert. Don't open the doors at night. Sayla nodded slowly. She didn't want to leave. Not yet. This human had saved her when no one else came. And something told her he needed her too. That night, while Sayla and her pet slept, she heard Jace whispering, not to her, not to himself, to the radio, a broken device on a silent frequency. She could barely make out the words, but what she heard sent a chill through her chest. If anyone's listening, I found someone. She's not human, but she's alive, and I can't lose her too. The next morning came with silence, not peace, not calm, but a silence that felt wrong. Sayla woke to find the heater still working, her pet snuggled beside her, and a blanket tucked carefully around them both. Jace was already awake. She saw him, near the entrance, working with a small toolkit and what looked like a damaged sensor. His hands were fast, steady, like someone who had done this 1,000 times before. He didn't speak at first. Neither did she. It wasn't an awkward silence. It was something else, a quiet rhythm, a space between strangers, slowly becoming something more. After a while, Sayla stood and walked over. She watched him work. What is that? She asked softly. Jace glanced at her, then back at the wires. A motion scanner, used to pick up movement in the snow. I built it myself. Does it work? Sometimes. She nodded, then hesitated. What were you doing last night? Talking to someone. Jace froze for half a second, then sighed. You heard that? She nodded again. He didn't lie. I talk to the radio sometimes, even if no one's listening. Selah tilted her head. Why? He gave her a small smile, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. Because silence will break you if you let it. Because pretending someone hears you is better than going crazy. She didn't press further. She understood more than she wanted to admit. After a few moments, Jay stood and walked over to a small panel on the wall. Come here, you need to see this. She joined him. He opened the panel and turned on a screen. A live camera feed showed the snow outside, stretching far and white under a gray sky. He pointed to something near the edge of the image. Look. At first, she saw nothing. Then, it moved. Something dark. Not big, but fast. It darted from one snowbank to another, then vanished again. What is it? She whispered. Jace's face turned serious. I don't know, but it's not natural. It leaves no heat, no sound, and it doesn't trip motion scans unless it wants to. Selah stared at the screen. Has it ever gotten close? Jace nodded. Last week, scratched the outer wall, left something behind. He reached into a nearby drawer and pulled out a thin piece of black metal. It was twisted, jagged, almost like a claw. It wasn't part of my ship, he said, or yours. Selah ran her fingers over it carefully. It felt cold. Too cold. Why? Hasn't it attacked again? She asked. Jace lowered his voice. Maybe it's waiting for something. They both went quiet. The heater hummed softly in the background. Selah held the piece of metal, her thoughts spinning. Outside, something moved again. Just a blur on the screen. Then gone. That night, Jace added more fuel to the fire. Double-checked the doors. Set up to motion alarms near the entrance. Selah helped. She had never built anything before, but he showed her step by step as they worked. Something shifted between them. Not fear. Not duty. Trust. Later, as they sat by the fire, Selah asked, what happens if the heater fails? Jace looked at her, his face unreadable. Then we freeze. Fast. And if those things come? He looked at the rifle, leaning on the wall. Then, we fight, or die trying. Selah reached for her pet, now resting near the fire. I don't want to die again, she whispered. Jace turned his head slowly. What do you mean? She hesitated. My ship crashed. Everyone I knew, gone. I was supposed to go to school on another world, start a new life. Instead, I fell into this one. Jace didn't speak right away. He just stared into the fire. Finally, he said, I was supposed to return home to Earth, but space had other plans. He looked at her again. Now you're the only voice I've heard in months that isn't my own. They sat in silence for a long time. No words, no fear, just the sound of the fire crackling between two survivors. In the dead of night, the motion sensor beeped. Then again, and again. Jace woke instantly, rifle in hand. Selah clutched her pet eyes wide. The screen showed 3 dark shapes, moving toward the shelter. Fast. Closer, Jace whispered. They're not just watching anymore. The motion alarm shrieked again. Then it stopped. The fire still crackled. The heater still hummed. But the shelter felt colder than ever. Jace stood at the doorway with his rifle aimed. Selah stayed back, clutching her pet. Her heart pounded in her chest. She could hear her own breathing. Shaky. Quick. 3 of them, Jace whispered. Could be more. Stay low. He moved like he had done this before. Calm, precise, but his eyes were sharp, focused. The camera screen flickered. For a moment, all 3 shapes came into view. Tall, thin, like shadows, walking against the snow. But they left no tracks, no heat. They're not animals, Selah whispered. They're hunting. Jace didn't answer. He was already setting up a makeshift barricade. He handed her a small, round device. If they breach the first door, press this. It triggers the heat flare. Might blind them, might not, but it'll give us a chance. She took it without a word. The shelter creaked. Something heavy landed on the roof. Jace looked up. Then he cursed under his breath. They're testing the structure. Sayla didn't blink. What if they break in? Jace turned to her. His voice was firm. Then we fight. Together. A loud screech echoed from the outside wall. Metal being torn. Sparks flew from the ceiling. The power flickered. Then the lights went out. The heater stopped. The fire dimmed. The cold rushed in like a ghost. Jace turned on a small emergency light. Red. Flickering. Everything looked strange in its glow. He pulled Sayla behind the main support beam. Stay here. Keep your pet close. He stepped forward, rifle ready. Then it happened. A panel near the rear wall exploded inward. Something dark and fast slipped through the smoke. Claws. No eyes. Just motion. Jace fired the gun, echoed like thunder. The thing screamed, sharp and high, not like anything natural. Sae. Look covered her pet's ears. She couldn't look away. Jace fired again, hit the target. But a second one darted in from the side. Too fast. It struck him across the shoulder. He fell back, blood spraying across the metal floor. Jace, she screamed. He gritted his teeth and shot again. The creature collapsed. Black blood steamed in the cold air. The last one leaped toward Sayla. She remembered the device. She hit the trigger. A bright red flash exploded in front of her. Heat and light surged outward. The creature screamed, stumbled, and fled back into the snow. Through the hole in the wall. Then silence. Real silence. Sayla rushed to Jace, tears in her eyes. Blood soaked his shirt. He tried to sit up, but groaned. In pain. It's fine. Just a scratch, he muttered. She helped him sit against the wall. That's not a scratch, she whispered. He smiled weakly. I didn't want to scare you. She looked into his eyes. I'm already scared, Jace, but not of them. I'm scared you won't make it. He looked at her then. Really looked. Sayla, I won't leave you. I promise. She pressed her forehead to his for a moment. It was the closest thing to warmth they had. Her pet climbed into Jace's lap, curled against him. For once, it wasn't afraid. Together, the three of them sat by the dying fire. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. In that moment, surrounded by blood and ash and broken metal, they felt something stronger than fear, hope. Hours later, when Sayla finally slept, Jace sat awake. He looked at the claw mark on his chest. The skin beneath it wasn't healing, and it was beginning to glow. The shelter was cold and broken. The outer wall had been patched with scrap metal, but the heater was still struggling. The fire burned low. The silence returned. Jace sat near the wall, trying to hide the pain in his shoulder. The wound glowed, faintly beneath the bandages. It wasn't just infected. It was changing. He didn't tell Sayla. Not yet. She was busy gathering scraps and wires, trying to fix the motion sensor. Her pet followed close behind, sniffing tools and cables. The little creature had grown more comfortable in the shelter. It trusted Jace now. So did Saela. Jace watched her move. She was quiet, focused, different from when he first found her. She had learned quickly how to seal a leak, how to heat metal without burning it, how to stay alive. But it wasn't just survival anymore. They were starting to build something. Together, suddenly the radio on the far wall crackled. A low hiss, a broken hum. Jace looked up. He hadn't heard that sound in weeks. He stood, wincing from the pain in his arm, and turned the dial slowly. The static grew louder. Then a voice came through. Emergency response. Beacon detected. If anyone is alive, transmit coordinates. Jace froze. Sayla turned, eyes wide. Is that real? She asked. He nodded, then leaned closer to the radio. This is Jace Carter, of the Starlight Ember. One survivor with me. 2 life signs. Shelter coordinates uploading now. The signal crackled again. Coordinates received. Team en route, ATA 72 hours. Stay safe. Jace sat back, his breath shaking. For the first time in months, help was coming. He turned to Selah. We're getting out of here. She didn't smile. Not yet. Will they accept me? She asked quietly. Jace looked at her strange eyes, at her soft skin, not like his, at her trembling hands holding onto her pet. They'll accept you, he said. She didn't answer, because she didn't believe it. Later that evening, Jace sat alone, staring at his bandaged arm. He pulled the cloth aside and looked at the wound. The skin around it had turned a faint blue. Lines ran beneath it, like glowing threads. He touched it gently. It pulsed. He closed his eyes, tried to breathe. He couldn't let her see. Not yet. Suddenly, Selah called out from the corner. Jace, the scanner's back online. He rushed over. Together, they looked at the screen. A map of the area lit up. It showed the shelter in the center, and around it, movement. Lots of it. Are they back? She asked. Jace nodded slowly. More than before. There were at least 7 signals. All closing in. He checked the heat levels. Still nothing. I think they know someone is coming, he whispered, and they want to stop it. Selah looked at the rifle. How much ammo do we have? Not enough. She looked up at him. Then what do we do? He stared at the map. We survive. Again. That night, as the fire burned low and the wind howled outside, Selah sat beside Jace. They didn't speak at first. Then she said, You didn't answer me earlier. About what? If they won't take me, what happens then? Jace didn't. Pause. Then I don't go. She looked at him, eyes wide. But it's your only chance. He met her gaze. You're my only reason. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She leaned closer. Her hand brushed his. Warm. Shaking. He didn't pull away. Neither did she. Later, while Selah slept, Jace stood near the camera feed. The wound on his arm pulsed again. His vision blurred for a second. And outside, in the snow, something looked directly into the camera. It didn't move. It didn't blink. It just stared, like it knew what was happening inside him. Snow fell like ash from a dying sky. The storm had returned, stronger than before. And so had the creatures. The scanner pulsed red. More shapes, moving faster. Getting closer. Jace gripped the edge of the table, his breath shallow. His shoulder burned beneath the bandage. The glow had spread. It reached his chest now. Selah didn't know. He kept it hidden, but it was getting harder to walk, harder to breathe. The rescue ship was only 20 miles north. It had landed early, trying to beat the incoming storm. The transmission was clear. Rescue. Window. 6 hours. After that, we leave orbit. Jace stared at the screen. 20 miles. Through deep snow. Through monsters. With one rifle. One flare. And one girl who still wasn't sure she'd be allowed aboard. Selah sat near the fire, holding her pet close. She didn't cry, but her hands trembled. I don't think they'll let me on, she said softly. Jace turned to her. They have. Too. She shook her head. I'm not human. Jace knelt beside her, took her hand. His touch was warm, even now. You are more human than anyone I've ever known. You care. You fight. You survive. He looked at her eyes. She didn't look away. You saved me too, Selah. Her voice cracked. You're changing, aren't you? He froze. What? She placed a hand over his chest. Felt the heat. Felt the tremble beneath. I saw it. Your skin. The light. You were bitten. He looked away. I didn't want you to worry. I already do. Silence hung between them. Heavy. Real. Finally, Jace stood. We leave now. If we wait, we die. Here. Both of us. Selah nodded. She wrapped her pet in a sling across her chest. Grabbed the emergency pack. Checked the flare. Jace shouldered the rifle and opened the outer door. Wind howled in his face. Snow blinded the path, but they stepped forward anyway. Together, the journey was brutal. Each step was slower than the last. Jace stumbled more than once. The infection was spreading, but he never let her see how much it hurt. Sayla walked close behind him. Her pet whimpered softly, but it didn't cry. It knew. They all knew. They crossed ice fields, jumped frozen crevices, past wreckage of old ships buried under snow, and always the shapes followed. Silent, distant, watching. Then, after hours of climbing a steep ridge, Sayla spotted it, a silver light cutting through the fog, the rescue ship, hovering low, ramp open, waiting. But something else was there too. Figures, dark, ones blocking the path. 3 creatures stood between them and the ship. Jace raised his rifle. Keep moving, I'll cover you. Sayla grabbed his arm. No, we go together. He stared at her. If I fall behind, you won't. They stepped forward. The wind roared. The creatures hissed, then charged. Jace fired, hit one. It screeched and collapsed. The second leaped. He tackled it mid-air, fell with it, rolled across the ice. Sayla screamed his name. He rose, bloody, limping. The glow now reached his throat. His hands shook. He looked back at her. Run. She didn't move. I'm not leaving without you. He turned and fired again. The last creature fell. The ramp of the ship lowered further. A voice echoed from the speakers. Hurry, closing in 90 seconds. They ran. Jace could barely stay on his feet. His vision blurred. His legs gave out. Sayla caught him, dragged him the last few feet. Her pet barked frantically. The rescue crew stepped forward, then stopped. One of them raised a scanner. Only human biosigns. What is she? Sayla froze. Jace pulled himself upright. She's with me. She's alien, the soldier said coldly. She's not allowed on board. Jace stepped in front of her. Then neither am I. The crew hesitated. She'll be quarantined. She could be dangerous. Jace held up his infected arm. She's not the danger. I am. They stared. He looked at Sayla. If they won't take you, I stay. Sayla's eyes filled with tears. I won't let you die for me. Jace smiled faintly. I'd rather die with you than live without you. The captain stepped forward, looked at them both, then at the silent snow behind them. He spoke into his come. 2 passengers, 1 pet. Prepare for launch. The ramp closed behind them, but as the engines roared to life, Jace collapsed, his skin now glowing bright blue and spreading. The hum of the engines echoed through the steel corridors. Sayla sat on the edge of the medbay bed. Her pet lay curled in her lap, shivering, but not from cold. Jace lay unconscious nearby, his body strapped to a medical platform. Monitors beeped, lights blinked, and the blue glow beneath his skin pulsed like a heartbeat. But it wasn't normal. It wasn't human. A nurse scanned him silently. Her face gave nothing away. Sayla looked down at her hands, still shaking. She had never seen Earth, never met a human before Jace, and yet she had found something real in him. Not his species, not his strength, but his soul. The captain entered the medbay, an older man, stern eyes, battle-worn voice. He looked at her. We ran tests. Whatever infected him is spreading fast. We've never seen anything like it. Sayla stood. Can you cure him? The captain shook his head. No, but we might be able to contain it. She narrowed her eyes. What does that mean? He didn't answer right away. Then he said the words that broke her. We might have to put him in cryo. Permanent suspension. He won't feel pain, but he won't wake up either. Her knees almost gave out. She clutched the bed for balance. Can't we don't have a choice, the captain said. If the infection reaches his brain, it could spread. We're not risking the entire ship. Sayla looked at Jace. His face was pale. His lips parted slightly, as if caught between sleep and pain. She stepped forward. You don't understand. He saved me. He saved my pet. He saved himself. All while fighting this thing. The captain didn't move. He's human, but he's dangerous now. Sayla turned sharply. No. He's not human because of his body. He's human because of his heart. The crew in the room went quiet. She stepped closer to Jace and took his hand. This man gave up his only chance to be saved, just so I could live. He fought monsters with one arm. He faced the cold without fear, and when the world turned its back on me, he stood in the way. Her voice cracked. You talk about danger. I talk about love. He didn't need to be born human to show what humanity really is. Then Jace moved barely. His fingers twitched in her hand. His lips parted. Sayla. She dropped to her knees beside him. I'm here. I'm right here. He opened his eyes slowly. Blue light shimmered beneath his skin, but his voice was still his. Did we make it? She nodded, choking on a breath. Yes, we did. The captain stepped forward again. Jace, can you hear me? He nodded. I'm not a threat. Not yet, but it's spreading. The captain sighed. You'll be quarantined. But if you survive the mutation, you'll be the first of something new. Jace looked at Sayla. Not the first. He reached for her hand again, held it tight. She's already more human than most I knew. There was silence in the room. Then, finally, the captain spoke again. All right. No cryo. Not today. Days passed. Jace remained in quarantine, but the infection slowed. Doctors watched him, monitored every change, and every day, Sayla sat by the glass. She read to him, she talked to him. She even taught the doctors how to calm her pet when it barked at the scanners. The glow remained, but so did Jace. And finally, one day, the door opened, and he walked out. Alive, changed, but alive. His eyes still held the same fire. His hand still reached for hers first, and when she ran to him, he didn't say a word. He just pulled her in two. His arms. Warm. Real home. They say humanity is a race, a species, a planet, but sometimes, humanity is a choice. And Jace made it. So did Sayla, not because of blood or birth, but because of how they chose to love. Together, they left the snow behind. Together, they reached the stars.